Hello, I'm Gaia Vince and welcome to my home museum. Today's object is a nondescript herb that started the American Revolution, and it's perhaps the only thing that I really miss when I'm travelling to far-flung places. It's tea. Now, the Chinese have been drinking tea for thousands of years. Legend has it that an ancient Chinese emperor, Shen Nung, was sitting under a tree drinking boiled water when a leaf from the tea plant blew into his water, accidentally starting a craze for tea drinking that persists nearly 5,000 years later. But tea remained an Eastern secret until the 16th century, when a few cosmopolitan Portuguese sailors, explorers, missionaries, they came home with the tea habit. But it wasn't until the Dutch brought it back from Java that tea drinking took off in Europe, starting from the Netherlands. Now, the British can thank their love of tea to the Portuguese wife of Charles II, Catherine of Braganza, who was an avid tea drinker, and she made it a fashionable choice for the wealthy in Britain too. And people started gathering, sharing gossip and ideas over daily, almost ritualistic tea drinking. The East India Company, which essentially ran a cartel monopolising trade from the East, particularly from China, heavily promoted tea drinking. And it was partly the loss of this East India Company's monopoly on trade to China that led them to develop tea plantations in Assam and across India and other parts of Asia. It also meant more competition from other traders who raced their packed tea chests across the oceans in these sleek, fast tea clippers like the Cutty Sark not far from me in Greenwich. And they tried to be the first import back in London and bag the best price for their tea. So tea was highly desirable for its flavour, sociability, and because it's a mild stimulant. And as a result, the government slapped sometimes quite hefty taxes on it. The consequence of this was a thriving, often violent smuggling industry. At the end of the 18th century, around 7 million pounds of tea was smuggled into Britain, and that compares to just 5 million pounds which was imported legally. And tea was often cut with other horrible things, from random tea leaves to sheep's dung by unscrupulous dealers. Tea taxes were also applied in the British colonies in America, even though these English citizens didn't have representation in the English Parliament. And this culminated in huge protests over an East India Company shipment of tea that arrived in Boston Harbour in 1773. And when the royal governor refused to send that consignment back to England, protesters boarded the ship and threw the tea into the ocean. The taxation issue could actually have been sorted out relatively easily, but instead the British government doubled down on the rebellion and sparked even more discontent, which ultimately escalated into the American Revolutionary War. And we all know how that ended. So tea, a soothing revolutionary drink from a Chinese herb by way of India. And it's very tasty.